Hello, my name is Katrina Smith, and for my color management final, I'll be doing it on the HSL adjustment tool. Here's an overview of what I'm going to be talking about in my PowerPoint. I'm going to start off with defining what HSL is and kind of how the tool is used and how the tool relates to color management. Then I'm going to discuss the HS tool in Lightroom and Photoshop and kind of go over the similarities and the differences of how it looks and how it's used. And then I'm going to talk about the target adjustment, which is an aspect of the HSL tool. Then I'll finish off with my conclusion. So the HSL is an adjustment layer tool, and it's used to adjust color of an image or a photo. There are three main elements of every color, which is hue, saturation, and luminance, and that's what the HSL stands for in the HSL adjustment layer tool. And this is a tool that's used by photographers and photo editors, pretty much anyone who knows what HSL is. So hue, which stands for the color itself, like red or green, and saturation is the intensity of the color, and luminance is how bright or dark the color is. So how it's used, like I said, it's used by photographers and photo editors for color correcting, whether it's like correcting the skin tone or like maybe the sky in the background of a photo. It also can be used for color manipulation, so if they take a picture and they don't like the color of a certain object, they can kind of switch the color around using the HS tool. And how it works is essentially you have three color adjustment sections, that allow you to control the hue, saturation, and luminance over 6 to 8 color band ranges. And this tool is found in both Adobe Lightroom and Photoshop. If you're not familiar with Adobe Lightroom, it's similar to Photoshop, as it's an image editing software program. The difference is Lightroom is mainly for photos and raw images, editing photos and raw images, where Photoshop you can edit images, but you can also kind of create images, and Lightroom doesn't really have that capability. So how the tool is kind of different in Lightroom and Photoshop is first its look. In Photoshop, the HS tool looks like this. You go to adjustment layer, you go to layer, new layer, adjustment layer, hue, saturation, and it comes up looking like this. And you have your hue, your saturation, your lightness bars, and then you kind of have your color band ranges right here. So you can do the master where you change the saturation of all the colors, or you can go in and click a specific color band range and just change the saturation or the lightness of that. And then in Lightroom, it is you open your image, then you go to develop and you scroll down until you find the HSL color black and white tab. You click on HSL and you have the three sections: hue, saturation, luminance. And then you have the 8 color band ranges, where Photoshop has 6, Lightroom has 8. And that's because Photoshop, the colors of Photoshop are they're 60 degrees apart in the color wheel, whereas in Lightroom they're 45 degrees apart. So the Lightroom has a smaller range than the colors in Photoshop, which doesn't make it makes a difference, but not like a huge difference where like you'd be missing something critical if you used Lightroom over Photoshop when it comes to the colors. But one difference that could be critical depending on who the person editing is the luminance adjustment section, and how it works differs from both Lightroom and Photoshop. So in Photoshop, when you adjust the brightness of your color, it kind of loses its saturation. I'll show you in this photo. So if I click in the red color band range and I turn up the lightness, it starts to become desaturated, so eventually it loses its saturation. Where in Lightroom, when you change the brightness, it doesn't lose its saturation, it just gets brighter, which that can make a difference depending on who's editing the photo, on what software program they're going to use. So kind of to adjust the brightness of a color in Photoshop, you have to also adjust the saturation too, that way you don't lose the color. But in Lightroom, you can just adjust the brightness as is and you won't lose the color. So that's a big difference that can play a big role. Other than that, the tool is pretty much the same. The way the hue tab and the saturation tab work are pretty much the same. So then we have target adjustment, which is an aspect of the color, the HSL tool. Not a lot of people are familiar with what this adjustment does, what this aspect does. It's pretty much used to kind of like fine tune which colors you're affecting by your adjustment. So like if you want to choose more, it kind of allows you to choose more than one color to edit at the same time, or to like pick specific reds to adjust, kind of like that too. Kind of give you an example of that in Photoshop. So if you go to this picture, it better shows what's going to happen. And you click the hand tool, which allows you to select. I select red. And then you go down here, as you can see, it has the outside wings and then has inside bars. And so the outside wings kind of feather out. It kind of allows you kind of like a fade out of what color to choose, of the color range, whereas the bars, it's more concrete range. So I click the reds, say I want to turn the saturation down to like 100. And if I pull out the band to magenta, you can see it makes the magentas also negative 100 saturation. And that's kind of what it does. It'll like I said, it allows you to adjust two colors at once. And the feather is just kind of like a fade, so it doesn't take the full color, but it fades it out to that same effect. It's not a tool that you have to necessarily use to adjust. You can just adjust each color separately, but if you wanted to kind of do it quicker, just feeling lazy and want to do more than one at a time, you can do it like that. So in a real world application, I'll click the hand again, click the red of the air balloon, and I'll turn the lightness up on it actually. And if I, as you can see, it turns up the lightness of the red of the air balloon and kind of the flowers underneath. But if I pull out the bar more to magenta, it starts to pull out the bars. It starts to adjust the magenta of the flowers as well. And like I said, it's pretty much used to adjust two colors at once. I'm going to turn the saturation up on just that aspect. Of course, that doesn't look good, but it's up to the person editing discretion on what they want to do with it. It's just another tool to kind of allow you. It's an advanced way to edit both colors at the same time. So pretty much to summarize what I talked about, the HSL is a layer adjustment tool that stands for hue, saturation, and luminance, which are the three elements of the color. And it pretty much allows people to manipulate the color of an image or a photo. It's a very powerful tool used in image editing that I don't think it's talked about enough, but it has a lot of benefits and it can be really useful for photographers or people editing images. Depending on who's editing the photo, they can use Photoshop or Lightroom. It serves the same purpose in both programs, but as I showed you, there's some differences between like the luminance section and the color range, and that depends on the editor if they like Photoshop or Lightroom more. And then the target adjustment, which is in Photoshop and Lightroom as well, but that allows you to kind of fine tune and adjust more colors together. The only thing is, in Lightroom, when you click the adjustment, which is this thing here, as you can see, it allows you to pick a color. It doesn't have as much much fine tune capability because it doesn't have the bar underneath, but as you can see, you can just click and it allows you to pick a target color band range as well. And then here are my references, and thank you for watching my slideshow.